Joining me today is Natasha Samuel from Soul Studios, and we're going to be talking about IGTV. Hola creators, I'm Yesenia Bocanegra, founder of Focus and Bloom Studios. I'm a photographer turned marketing strategist who took a leap of faith, moved over 3,000 miles away from home with one camera and one heavy suitcase filled with dreams. If you're a creative soul and dream maker, this podcast is for you. Here I share actionable tips and tactics on marketing, business, and mindset to help you grow and up-level your business with purpose and lots of joy. One action item at a time. Get comfortable and let's get started. This is the Focus and Bloom Podcast. Welcome back, creators. I'm Yesenia from Focus and Bloom Studios, where I share a variety of tips and tactics to help you grow and up-level your business with video. Joining me today is Natasha from Soul Studio, who is going to be sharing her take on how you can use Instagram, specifically IGTV, to incorporate that into your video marketing strategy. We also talk about the differences between IGTV and YouTube, and then hopefully that can help you make a decision about which platform would be better for you and mostly what the differences between the two of them are. So go ahead and let's dive in. Natasha, welcome to the Focus and Bloom podcast.
Thank you for welcoming me. I'm excited to be here.
So before we dive into the actual interview, can you share with our audience a little bit about you and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the founder of Soul Studio, and I do social media management through it. So Instagram content creation specifically. And then I also do educating, whether it's through speaking, through courses, through resources to really help business owners kind of get confident with their Instagram strategy and really shine using things like video. And, there's so many different parts with Instagram. So I really just help people navigate that.
Awesome. And I love that you mentioned video. And one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to chat with you is because you're big in part of IGTV strategy. So, video is so important, especially now when everybody is online more than ever. And studies have shown that more than 70% of audiences are influenced by video. So we need to get on the game there.
Yes, absolutely. And I know there was like a stat showing live stream usage alone has increased 70% since the pandemic. So I think IGTVs and lives, they're even more important, like you mentioned, because people are at home and they're just looking for more ways to connect with brands that they love.
Absolutely. Speaking of IGTV, and let's go ahead and dive into Instagram strategies. Can you tell us what is IGTV and what are the differences between IGTV and YouTube?
Definitely. So I always like to describe IGTV as Instagram's YouTube. So they definitely were trying to mimic a lot of the features that it has. The biggest difference that I like to really talk about is that IGTV was really created for vertical video. So now it does support horizontal, and I don't think there's anything wrong with putting horizontal video on IGTV. But when you're holding your phone, vertical video just fills up your screen better. It's more comfortable to view, and people are really pivoting to watching videos on their phones, and that's where Instagram really shines. So I think that's really what makes it different. And so when you're thinking of the strategy of your content, that is really what makes it unique versus what you might be posting on your stories or your feed or even doing as a live stream, because it's going to be longer form, but it's not going to be as long as YouTube. I always like to recommend under 5 minutes. I even think 5 minutes seems a little bit long because people, when they're on Instagram, they kind of want that quick gratification. Like when you're going through your stories, like you're like tap, 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 and you're like engaging with all your stories. So people kind of want that same sensation, but in a longer, more valuable form content. And I'd say, and also a big difference between YouTube and IGTV is YouTube is definitely a lot more curated. As a YouTube watcher myself, there's high quality video editing. People are using nice cameras. There's definitely a level of quality that most high-level YouTubers are implementing and using, and the algorithm works completely different. But when it comes to IGTV, it really can just be filmed with your phone, quite simply edited on a video editor. That's an app. And it kind of is just a little bit more accessible, and it feels imperfect in a really approachable way, I think, which is why I personally really like it, because it's easy for brands to hop on.
I love that you mentioned that it's imperfect and that it's more real because when you're starting out or when you're even if it's you have a couple of years into the business but you're still figuring out that social portion of your marketing. And when we say video, a lot of people feel very intimidated because, like you said, you go to YouTube and you see these really well produced videos and you're like, it's only me. I can only
Yeah.
do that. So it can be very, very intimidating. And the fact that it's a different style of the typical video that we see in IGTV that actually sort of like opens the door a lot more for people to feel more comfortable and confident and just like, hey, let me just put this out there, even if it's not perfect. This is like the place.
Yes, absolutely. I completely agree. And I think using video in general on Instagram, it can feel very intimidating because it's not natural for any of us. We don't automatically know how to hold a phone and talk to it like there's people on the other side of it. So I think that once you can really learn how to get confident on video, it really helps you be a better business owner, to sell better, to launch better. So yeah, I'm totally an advocate for it.
So, what are three things that you can share on how we can use IGTV for business?
Yes. So the first thing that comes to mind is that, and this is my favorite part about IGTV, is that you can add clickable links into the descriptions. So you can put as many URLs as you want into the descriptions of your videos, which is huge. So I always put a call to action that is a link, because if you think about it, whether you have 10K followers or not, whether you have swipe up or not, you really only have one place to add your links, and that's the link in your bio. So really utilizing your video content, so you're being strategic on how you can get people off of Instagram. I love Instagram, but I like to use it as a vessel to get people onto my website, onto my blog, onto my podcast, onto my newsletter, and those different types of things. So I'd say that's definitely the first thing that I would consider. And another strategic way that businesses can use IGTV is that you can literally use it on every single part of the platform. So I kind of like to think of it as like a square. So, the first part that you could start with your video is it could actually start as a live stream. So now when you go live, it doesn't go to stories. It's a 24-hour replay. You can directly post it to IGTV, which saves you so much time. So you can go live, do your training, have some engagement, and then you can automatically post it to IGTV. So then that's the second place that it's going. And then you can share that video as a preview on your feed. And that is really when your engagement will skyrocket. I know when I was first using IGTV, when it came out 2 years ago, I literally got barely 100 views, maybe like 70. That was like great. And now I've gotten 1,000 views on videos because it just gets to so many more eyes when you actually do that feed preview. And then the other option is now you can share an option to your stories. So you can share that video as a preview to your stories, and you get swipe up. So even if you have under 10,000 followers, you can link and swipe up to your videos. So that is just a really strategic way that people can use IGTV. And I think the other way is series. So series, it's just like, a series you might see on Netflix. So you're making something that's very bingeable. And I think it's a great way for people to keep coming back for more video content and know they can expect to hear from you for a certain amount of times, whether it's, daily, weekly, monthly. Having that kind of time where people know they can get more content from you with your series is really a great way to build your relationship with your audience.
Absolutely. And that goes back to the whole concept of consistency throughout, no matter what
Mhm.
no matter what you're doing in your business, and not just social media, but definitely social media, you want to be consistent because then when you stop is when you stop seeing that reduction in engagement and following and everything. There's so many things that we can create in video. What are let's say a couple of what type of videos can we create for IGTV that can add value to the content that we're sharing on our feed? And I know you mentioned a story, but can you dive into a little bit what type of videos?
Yeah, absolutely. So I always just say that if you're starting out on IGTV, whether you're new to Instagram or not, do a business card video. So this is going to be a video that just introduces your business, who you are, what your expertise is, what you offer, and kind of what your story is. It's a really easy video to do, but it's a great way to introduce yourself. And you can always do different versions of this. You can then do like a fun facts follow up. There's a lot of fun you can have with it. And even if you have a team, you can then start to introduce your team and other elements like that. And then I really love a frequently asked question or like a Q&A style video. It's great because you can use stories to grab questions, or you can repurpose a frequently asked questions page you probably already have on your website. I'm all for repurposing content you've already got
Oh,
created.
yeah. Mhm.
So that's another really easy video idea. And then I think another thing is just some type of value focused video. So those are the free videos I usually recommend to people. And a value focused video could be a tutorial, it could be a training, it could be something that's very inspirational. But you want it to be something that people can, that you can easily share and that people can really access and learn from. I find that IGTV, I'm often sharing those videos in my DMs. So I try to think of content that I often get a lot of questions about. So I think that's really where you can kind of go when it comes to a value focused video. But I think those are just 3 easy videos to start out with. And the great part is you can kind of always use those as kind of like a repeating formula. Like you can do so many different types of Q&As, so many different types of FAQ style videos. So those are like 3 videos that I think everyone should have on their channel.
Absolutely. And I love that you mentioned DM because that's also a different strategy that we can take advantage of when it comes to Instagram strategies, where you can reach out to people directly and really build more one-on-one connection with that potential person. And so it might feel like cold calling kind of, but it's a way for you to dive deeper and connect deeper.
Definitely. I agree. And I feel like videos are always a great way to communicate. You can send text, you can send a photo, but a video really communicates things better.
Yep, absolutely. And you mentioned like an about me type of video about your business. And it's important to, when you're thinking about that, you also want to keep in mind that, while you're sharing something about you, you also want to address how you're serving your potential audience as you're talking about you and your business. So keeping that in mind, is connecting that story and connecting that purpose behind your business will definitely make that about me video even stronger.
Yes, couldn't agree more.
Talking about video and creating video and how IGTV can make it simpler, more raw, more real, if you will. How can we make these videos if we only have our smartphone? Like, what are some tools that you feel are your go-to tools to create videos on your phone?
Yes. So definitely always use my smartphone. A quick tip with your phone is always wipe off your back lens because it gets so smudgy and dirty, and you'd be surprised. You will go from 0 HD to 100 HD. Big time. So that's like one really simple tip. Another thing that really can uplevel your videos is having a tripod. I think it can just make things more accessible. I'm all for using my laptop, a water bottle. I've used everything as a tripod, but I think when you actually have a stand to put your phone on, it really does make filming a lot easier. A ring light is also something that can be very helpful, but I just say in general, I like to stick with really good lighting. So being close to a window where it's illuminating your face or the side of your face really can make for better video content. And my favorite editor of all time is InShot. I've spoken at a lot of different events with other video creators, and InShot is always one of the common apps that we just love. It's available for Android and iOS. And it is completely free, and it has just as many capabilities as a really robust editor like Premiere Pro or anything else like that. You can also do it on your iPad, and you can add transitions, text, filters, music, literally anything you'd want to a video. And I'd say those are the main things I do. I really like to keep my videos simple because I think when people try to make it just super complex and really high end, it kind of actually takes away from how I think IGTV should feel and look. And I think a video shouldn't take you too much time. So those are kind of my favorite tools. And if I have those 3 things, I think my video will turn out great.
Absolutely. And part of like that be part of your video production process not taking you too long is you designing a strategy and like putting together like giving all of your actions and your moves a purpose so that everything is nicely connected together, and then therefore everything makes sense in the larger scheme of things in your marketing plan and strategy.
Totally.
All right. So before I know we can totally talk more about IGTV and video. And I think like right now in my mind, I'm like, oh, I want to do like a tutorial. Like,
I love that.
I just love it. But before we wrap up this interview, I always like to do a lightning round, which is like a series of questions where they're pretty random, not business, marketing, strategy related. And it's just to end the interview in a fun note. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Awesome. Okay, so coffee or tea?
Tea.
What's your non-superpower power?
I'm really good at cooking. That's a boring one.
Still, it's pretty good. Now when quarantine, you're like,
yes.
a very good non-superpower power.
Yes. I think my partner that's working from home with me, he's very happy that is my superpower.
What is the worst dish that you've created?
I'd have to say it'd be pancakes with coconut flour have never turned out for me. I know, very specific, but that they just turn it into mush, which isn't great.
I've never tried coconut flour.
Would recommend.
So beach, city, or mountains?
I guess beach because I'm a Florida girl and I can't imagine not being near the water.
All right. So what historical person, living or not, would you love to have tea with?
I feel like as a kid, this was always my favorite historical person. Is probably Martin Luther King Jr. for sure.
Awesome. Definitely some good conversations.
Oh, yeah.
And last but not least, how can people connect with you online?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at Soul Studio Marketing, SOL. And that's usually where I'm hanging out. And then I also have a podcast called the Shine Online Podcast. And those are the two places to find me.
I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today and share all your knowledge with our audience.
Thank you so much. It was so fun.
Thanks for tuning in on today's episode. If you've enjoyed this episode, go ahead and leave us a review and let us know what other things you'd like to learn and hear from us here at the Focus and Bloom podcast. Until next time.